What's up, Space Pirates? This is your Admiral, the engagingly eccentric Dr. Disaster, and I would like to think that the out-of-nowhere success of Clair Obscur Expedition 33 has been an eye-opening experience for the gaming industry.
What the hell was that?
They reportedly spent less than $30 million on this modest game, Clair Obscur, and then they completely put the industry on its ass by selling millions of copies, getting some of the best review scores of all time from gamers, and being the frontrunner for all kinds of end-of-the-year awards. And they accomplished all this by making the sort of game that they, the developers of it, would have wanted to play themselves. They made something that was true to their own culture, using a formula that's actually pretty similar to what the Final Fantasy series used to look like. So you've got to think that Square Enix is looking at this game and thinking,
It should have been me! It's not fair!
Meanwhile, the Western studios working under the Square Enix banner have been pumping out slop like Life is Strange True Colors, which, if you look at the Steam charts, it paints a pretty bleak picture of this game. They managed to hit only 8,000 concurrent players on Steam at its peak last year when it released, and based on the expected budget for the game, they needed to sell something in the ballpark of 1 million copies in order to hit their break-even point. But according to VG Analytics, after a full year, the game has sold less than 500,000 units on Steam.
Holy shit!
True Colors has almost certainly lost Square Enix a bunch of money, and it is with this in mind that this news right here, that Square Enix is basically eliminating the employees that develop games in their Western studios and bringing all their development back home to Japan, this just isn't surprising at all. I would like to think that seeing the continued failures of their Western studios, combined with the success of something like Clair Obscur, which is very similar to the way that they used to make Final Fantasy games, I would like to think that all of this has given them at Square Enix the initiative and the confidence to start making authentically Japanese RPGs once again, developed in-house like back in the good old days. But whatever they are planning to do in the future, one thing is evident: the now former employees are gonna have to get used to the following phrase.
Just put the damn fries in the bag, bro. All right.
Alright, me hearties, make sure that you hit the like button on this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I've had a lot of people tell me that they have been unwillingly unsubscribed to the channel, so make sure you check on that. And also, don't forget to follow me over on X, where my handle is Dr. Disaster 1. And if you want to help keep the lights on, consider becoming a member of the channel for as little as $5 per month. Anyhow, let's take a look at this news that Square Enix is moving on from a lot of their employees at these Western studios. One can only hope that cutting ties with Western studios will also mean that Square Enix will cut ties with a lot of the really shitty Western cultural elements that have seeped into their company over the past few years, most notably their ethics department, which pushed stupid crap like this, where they made a conscious effort to restrict the size of Tifa's calcium cannons in the Final Fantasy VII remakes. It's thinking like this, concerning themselves with the fifis, the sentiments of Western audiences, that has caused the Final Fantasy brand to lose a shitload of its soul over the past decade or so. And the worst trouble is that they are making these changes in service to the modern audience. the enlightened, progressive Westerners who the woke turds out there imagine are buying up games in droves and driving the industry forward. But as game after game catering to this imaginary audience flops, games like Forspoken from Square Enix itself, but as these games flop, it becomes apparent that people crave authentic art. We don't want shit that was made to try to appease a bunch of oversensitive activists. And it is with this in mind that we will read this article here from IGN talking about all the layoffs. It says, Square Enix is undergoing mass layoffs today, potentially impacting over 100 individuals, alongside a broader effort to consolidate its publishing organization and focus its development work in Japan. Via public posts from former employees, as well as confirmation from internal sources, IGN has learned that employees in the UK and US are being informed of the layoffs today, with an unknown number of US employees being dismissed by the end of the week and a possible 137 jobs at risk in the UK. Under UK law, Square Enix must undergo redundancy consultations to see if any jobs can potentially be saved, so the final number in the UK could be smaller. It is not yet clear which teams were impacted by this, or to what extent. And then, this next part is really encouraging for those of us who would love to see them get back to making authentically Japanese RPGs. It says next, internally, a slide presentation now publicly available was also shared with employees earlier today, offered a progress report on Square Enix's ongoing reorganization of overseas organizations, of which this restructuring seems to be a part. Per Square Enix, the strategy has already involved closing overseas development studios and shifting toward consolidating development functions in Japan. As a part of this, Square Enix already sold Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, Square Enix Montreal, and a number of associated IPs to Embracer Group. It also already laid off workers across its Western operations in 2024. That leaves Square Enix with the Life is Strange, Outriders, and Just Cause franchises currently managed by its Western studios, as well as the publishing of Power Wash Simulator. And based on the trends that we are seeing here, you have to expect that it is only a matter of time before Square sells off the remaining studios and IP in the West. And you know what makes this news even more encouraging? And keep in mind, I'm not suggesting that Square Enix is automatically fixed now or anything like that. There are certainly going to be a lot of people working at the company who still need to get the axe, but what makes this news even more encouraging is this news here that I saw pop up on X just the other day. This is from Grums, who wrote, Final Fantasy XIV has replaced Kate Quinar, the former lead localizer for Dawntrail and the series, after her open hate and approval of political violence. Asmongold called for her to be fired, and if you want a refresher as to who this Kate Quinar person is, here's a tweet from back in September from Grums, which says, Kate is the English localization manager for Dawntrail and Final Fantasy XIV. She is running. She is scrubbing and deleting her posts on Blue Sky because she has been reposting violent rhetoric against the right, the kind of rhetoric that gets people killed. And now, specifically, this all took place after Charlie Kirk was murdered. She was one of those people who seemed to be celebrating that Charlie Kirk was killed, and as you can see here, yes, Asmongold was among the people out there calling for this person to lose her job. And now, if you look at this tweet here, you can see that they have low-key replaced her. When you zoom out and take a look at the big picture when it comes to Square Enix, as I said a minute ago, I'm certainly not laboring under the delusion that the company is now automatically fixed or anything like that, but they seem to be taking steps in the right direction. Somebody in management of that company seems to have noticed that Westerners, with their crazy fixation on progressive identity politics shit, is simply dragging the company down, and that is utterly unacceptable if you are running a for-profit business. And you've got to hope that, from a creative perspective, the people at Square Enix took note of the success of Clair Obscur. If you play that game, you can tell that it is a love letter to a lot of the old RPGs out there, the sort that Square used to make 20 or 30 years ago, but with a certain French flair to it, because of course that game was made by French people. This ought to give Square Enix the confidence it needs to go back to its roots. Now, to be clear, I am one of the purists that wants to see them do turn-based combat again, and based on the fact that a couple years ago, Baldur's Gate 3, a turn-based combat game, was basically the biggest game around, and it won Game of the Year, and now we have Clair Obscur poised to do that again. Well, I hope that Square goes back to those turn-based roots, but at the end of the day, I would just settle for them regaining their soul and telling quirky, wacky, Japanese stories, the sort of thing that has made anime and manga so damn popular in recent years. The fact that they are cutting away all of the dead flesh of the Western elements of their company is at least an encouraging sign that this is the case. But I'm going to leave it there. What do you make of these layoffs? Is there reason for encouragement when it comes to Square Enix in your view? Drop your thoughts into the comment section below, and we will talk there. Thanks for watching, me hearties. If you haven't already, your Admiral is inviting you to subscribe to the channel and become a part of the crew. Life as a space pirate may not be glamorous, but there's always plenty of booty.